I'm a parent, Lovevery and similar play kits are everywhere. And the marketing message blasted at parents at a deafening volume is that if you buy these toys for your kids, they will be happier, less bored, smarter, more advanced, and more engaged. And if you don't, well then, the opposite is true. I bought into it and I subscribed to Lovevery for a year. And at the end of it all, these are my honest thoughts. Lovevery is a Montessori-style company that makes high-quality toys made of wood or plastic typically, designed by child development experts with the goal of helping your child along in their development. At least that's how it's marketed. Could your baby be craving more? Is their tagline for their 0 to 12 month play kits. And there's almost this unspoken promise that if you purchase these play kits, your baby will be better off for it. And if you don't, then you're just not giving your child everything they need to reach their full potential. At least that's the message and the pressure that I felt on a subconscious level. So upon first look, the play kits did not look that worth it to me. But I just thought, what do I know? I'm not the child development expert. They are. So I signed up because what parent doesn't want to give their child the very best? Now the play kits go all the way from 0 months old, the first week of life really, to 5 years old. And for your baby's first year of life, there are 6 play kits in total and they are priced at $90 each. We received our first play kit, the Looker, right before my daughter was born. I think out of all the play kits, this one was ironically the one we got the most use out of. She loved staring at the black and white cards. We used them a lot on car rides. They kept her calm. She would start to cry and I would just show her the cards and she would stare at it with the widest eyes like, you know, it was the coolest thing in the world. Almost like she was watching a very stimulating toddler show. And then when she would start to look away, I would flip it to the next one. And that's how we would get through our car rides. It helped so much. We also use them for tummy time. I use the rattle like they recommend, twisting it and twirling it. I believe it is supposed to teach them spatial awareness. And she liked that too. We used it for tracking, shaking it, and having her follow with her eyes. We hung the fabric links from her play gym and from her stroller, and she loved to stare at them. She would chew on them. She would touch them. And she liked her mobile as well. We hung it from the ceiling and it wouldn't keep her entertained for that long, but you know, she would stare at it for a few minutes and be mesmerized and then move on. We even used the card holder quite a bit. We tried to use the little mitts, but she wasn't really that interested in those ever. They kind of just seemed to annoy her. And same thing with the book, it just wasn't something we used that much, it was just kind of there. But I feel like this play kit was really cool because at that age, they are so little, they can do so little, they are so immobile. So this play kit really did give us a lot of things to do when she just couldn't do that much. It felt really good to feel like we were actually getting use out of it and feel like she was learning and enjoying it. And I actually liked the first play kit a lot. Then the second play kit came. The Charmer. And I already started to feel a tiny bit overwhelmed by the amount of little toys we were accumulating in such a short period of time. You see, we live in a small house with limited space and I've always wanted to make it a goal for us not to be overrun by toys. Not only do I think it's bad for the health of our entire family, but I don't think it's the best thing for children to be overwhelmed by too many things as well. In my head, when I signed up for the subscription, I was thinking that I would be able to put away each play kit as she got the next one shipped and it would be a very minimal toy collection. But that's not really how it works. They kind of build off of each other and the toys that you receive can be played with a lot longer than just the 2 to 3 months that the play kit is designed for. In fact, sometimes your child won't even show interest in a toy until they're older than what the play kit, you know, recommends. So already with our Lovevery Play Gym, our 2 play kits, and the very, very small collection of toys that we had received, mostly through gifts from the baby shower, I was beginning to see how this could really snowball very quickly into a very large collection of toys. So I canceled the subscription. After the second play kit, I canceled it very hesitantly with a lot of anxiety in my heart. We played with the toys that we had, and for a while it was okay, and I sort of felt like I was doing the right thing most of the time. As far as the toys in the second play kit went, I feel like she liked the crinkly book, she liked the red crinkle bag. Everything else was kind of just like whatever. It was kind of just there, adding to the noise that were her playthings. And with the increase in stuff and choices, I felt like I started getting some decision fatigue when I went to play with her. It's almost like it's harder to focus when there's too many things around. So whether it be because of the decision fatigue that was starting to weigh on me, or the fact that she just didn't seem that excited about much of anything in her new play kit, or a combination of both, it just didn't feel like we got as much use out of this second play kit as we had the first. When she turned 5 months, I felt like she was getting really bored with her last two play kits. There was a part of me too that also really wanted her to have the tissue box from the Lovevery Play Kit. I looked at Target to see if I could buy it just on its own. I couldn't. I looked at Amazon dupes. I considered making a DIY tissue box, but I wanted her to have it so badly. I could just see her pulling out the tissues and having the time of her life. I thought it would be so fun. I thought it would be so good for her development. I could see it all in my head. I also really wanted her to have the rattle socks and the rainbow spinner. And I looked up DIY tutorials for those as well and considered trying to make them myself at one point too. So after going back and forth about what I should do and even ordering some different brands of Amazon toys as an alternative to these toys and just feeling like I was getting less toys for more money, I ended up cracking and resuming the Lovevery subscription and then returning the Amazon toys. And she got her tissue box, and she got her rattle socks, and she got her rainbow spinner. And let's just say that my expectations were not our reality. Again, she somewhat liked these toys. She played with them for a minute or two. But her favorite thing from that whole play kit has probably consistently been the book that came with it. I feel like we got some use out of the rattle socks as well. I mean, we got some use out of everything. But the tissue box was not a hit. The design of the tissue box is not even like that great. Half the time, the tissues either are stuck together when you pull them out if you connect them too much, or they don't come out at all if you connect them too little. There's a very specific sweet spot to get them to come out together, and it's science that I just haven't figured out yet. It's not consistent. And even when it is consistent, it's something she wants to like do once and then she's over it and she moves on to the rest of her life. And then the rainbow spinner was whatever. Again, it's something that she like played with for a minute or two and then she moves on. I've put it out on a shelf with very few other toys, and it's something she's played with maybe a handful of times on her own. Maybe. It's just not that interesting to her. And then the ball and the wobble toy that were included in the play kit might as well not have even been, because they were so completely uninteresting to her. I feel like they just were clutter at that point. Then we got the inspector and it was more of the same. At this point, I was really starting to feel overwhelmed by the amount of toys. And I started trying to toy cycle. And I just find this all a little ironic because I tried to be extremely intentional about the toys that were being brought into our home. At Christmas, I sent out a group text asking my family members to please get her 0 to 1 toys per couple. I turned my nose up to plastic toys, and I thought I was just being such a great parent by getting her these high quality educational toys that I had hoped that she would be obsessed with, especially because she was obsessed with her play gym from Lovevery. It was such a hit with her. It was such a good purchase. So, you know, I expected everything they produced to be a hit and a great purchase. But the more mobile she got, the more aware she got, the more interested she became in regular household items mostly. And also her plastic Fisher-Price toys that my sister-in-law gifted us at the baby shower, specifically the caterpillar and the turtle. So there she was, having the time of her life, shaking her caterpillar while her expensive, high-quality, child development expert created toys sat neglected on the floor. So at this point, as you can imagine, I was kind of over it. But I thought I'm just gonna get one more play kit because I really wanted her to have the metal keys. I tried to find a dupe for these metal keys, but I couldn't find anything. And I had read parents online being like, this was one of the main things my kids loved from all the Lovevery toys. So we got it, and she did really like the keys. She still does. They've been a favorite. We've also had a lot of fun with the play silk. It's really good for peekaboo, but you can buy them for like $6 off Amazon. So there's that. Sarah Silks. It's really good. And again, she loves the books with the real pictures of real people. But everything else has just kind of been more of the same. She's not really interested in it for more than a few minutes. She doesn't really play with it on her own unless I'm sitting there in front of her, actively playing with her. And the more mobile she's gotten, the less interested she's become. Honestly, the most independent play she's gotten out of these toys has probably been her taking them out of her toy basket and putting them on the floor one at a time. That's her favorite pastime. And she could have done that with like measuring cups, you know, not hundreds and hundreds of dollars of expensive. So when my baby was about 8 months old, my brother asked me what her favorite toys were because he has a daughter as well, and she's slightly younger, and so he just wanted to know like what they should get her. And half as a joke, but like half serious, I started taking pictures of all the different things she would play with around the house. The remote, the cupboard doors, cardboard boxes, kitchen utensils, clean laundry, door stoppers, a silicone bib, her lotion bottle. And I sent him these pictures of her, and I was like, these are her favorite toys. And it was funny, but like it kind of wasn't because it was true. And here I had spent so much of our money to try to give her what? An edge? Less boredom? And at the end of it all, I just kind of felt like I had been suckered. And all I was left with was a basket overflowing with small toys that she just didn't really care about. So Montessori was actually created in the early 1900s as a method of teaching children from low-income families. Children whose parents did not have the resources to drop $90, adjusted for inflation, on toys every 2 months. The creator, Maria Montessori, used simple, homemade, and recycled materials to teach the children. It was never supposed to be about buying the latest and most expensive toys, but instead the core principles are about fostering respect, independence, and hands-on learning, using real-life experiences as a teacher, following the child's interests to foster that independence. Flash forward to 2025, it has been turned into an on-trend, highly marketed beast. It promotes overconsumption, and it's wrapped up with a big fat bow of guilt-centered messaging that if you do not buy these toys for your children, then you are not providing them as good of a life as you could be. You are not doing enough, and they will suffer developmentally as a result. Now, do I think Lovevery and similar brands are inherently bad? I do not. The toys that they produce are objectively pretty high quality. Some of them tend to be universally well loved. They're thoughtful. I think that they are thoughtful. But in my opinion, subscription boxes like Lovevery are just too much stuff. They're a business. They want to sell as many boxes as they can. They're going to try to make you feel like you need these boxes every 2 months. We ended up in the end skipping the last box because it felt like a rebranded repeat of a bunch of other toys that we already had and a doll. If you have all these toys out for your child is going to be overwhelmed. I've seen it when I'm trying to sort through to Toy Cycle and my daughter's with me. And she's just going from one toy, looking at it, putting it down, going to the next toy, looking at it, putting it down. Just so overstimulated and overwhelmed. And you're either gonna deal with that or you're gonna have to toy cycle, which I'm a fan of toy cycling in general, but with this amount of stuff, it ends up being a lot to store and manage and rotate, especially if you're subscribed for the entire 5 years. It adds up really, really quickly, especially if you have a smaller home. If I could do it all again, I would have thoughtfully selected a few high quality toys from reputable brands, and then let her experience the world around her as much as I possibly could. When I browse the future play kits on the website, it stresses me out just like imagining having all those little toys in my home. All those tiny little pieces of things that she may or may not play with. And in my experience, the more we've brought in, the less she actually plays. I've also started to kind of take issue with the thought that every toy has to be educational, has to give them an edge, has to push them developmentally in some way for it to be good. I don't want to be that controlling over my child's play. I want to be thoughtful with what comes into our home. But moving forward, I want to focus on her interests, toys that encourage open-ended play, toys that encourage imaginative play, giving her a child-accessible environment and including her as much as possible in our day-to-day activities, like cooking. Or recently I've been letting her get her wipe wet before her diaper changes. I hand it to her, she puts it under the water, she hands it to me. And it's like I'm including her and she's more interested. Diaper changes aren't this dreaded thing anymore. It's like she gets to help me and she appreciates that. It makes it like a more positive experience for both of us. But I really think with children, less can definitely be more. If we as fully developed adults can be overstimulated by an abundance of stuff, how much more are our tiny little children with their developing brains going to be overwhelmed and overstimulated by too many choices and too many things? For anyone who wants to dive deeper into this topic, I highly recommend you check out the book Simplicity Parenting. I'll have it linked down in the description below. But in that book, there's example after example of children given too many choices, too much stuff, not enough time, not enough simplicity, who are stressed out, overwhelmed, overstimulated, and ultimately unhappy. And when these children have the excess taken away and their life is simplified and cut down to more of a bare minimum, these children blossom and thrive. It is the opposite of what we're told by our culture. You know, give your child everything and then they will be happy. Really, what they need is structure and balance and space and time and freedom to be children in a calm environment. When you think about it, the amount of stuff that we give our children is really unprecedented in any generation. I mean, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, what kid owned 75 different toys? Ever. I think back to the Laura Ingalls Wilder book, Little House in the Big Woods. Her and her sister each owned one nice doll, and Laura didn't even receive her nice doll until she was 5 years old for Christmas, because before that she was deemed too young. So she had a little corn husk doll wrapped in a handkerchief and she named her Susan, and that was her doll until she got her new doll when she was old enough. And Laura and her sister Mary would play imaginatively in the attic with all the pumpkins and the turnips and the squashes and whatnot, and they would make them into little people and they would tell stories and play pretend. Children are great at play. Children are great at imagining and playing without our help, without an educational ball drop thing that she's never been interested in. And that's not to say that we can't get them thoughtful Montessori toys here and there, and more than one nice doll on their 5th Christmas. And again, it's not to say that Lovevery is a terrible company. I know a lot of families have used them and loved them. In fact, when I was debating canceling them, I couldn't find a bad review out there, which just added to my feelings of guilt that I was being a bad mom for feeling like it was all too much for her, too much for me, and too much for our family. The cost of the subscription boxes, the accumulation of stuff, the pressure to force every playful interaction to be developmentally enriching. It was just all too much. So I wanted to make this video to let you know, if you feel like it's all too much too, you are not alone. These companies are really good at marketing. Montessori is a billion-dollar industry. Trust your intuition on this. The Montessori philosophy was never intended to be what it has become. And not only do I strongly believe that your child will not be harmed if you choose to skip the subscriptions, I honestly think that 9 times out of 10, they will be better off for it. Now, with all that being said, we did have a much better experience with the Lovevery Play Gym. I'm posting a review video on that next week, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that one. I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that it takes some of the pressure and guilt away. And I hope that you know that you are doing an amazing job with your babies. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.